Dateline Afghanistan, where the true cost of our 20 years there were some 2,400 American servicemen and women who died, the thousands who came home physically and mentally injured, and the sad suicide rate among veterans. And Brown University researchers pegged the taxpayer cost of all operations likely in excess of $2 trillion, 12 zeros. Who knows how much of which fell into Taliban hands. An audit by nonpartisan nonprofit Washington watchdog OpenTheBooks.com demonstrates that in fiscal year 2018, it was no contest which one of 170 countries that got U.S. foreign aid spending got the most. Over $500 billion of your tax dollars just then. Here are the top 5 investments that didn't pan out. Number 5, $174 million in drones we gave the Afghan National Army, which lost many of them. Number 4, $800 million for the Respect Women campaign, promoting women's rights and against gender-based violence. Number 3, $1.5 billion for the U.S. Embassy now evacuated. Number 2, nearly $9 billion for an anti-narcotics campaign that got no measurable results as poppy crops soared, and the United Nations described Afghanistan as a narco state. And the biggest line item, nearly $83 billion, invested into Afghan security forces surrendered or defeated by the Taliban within days of our bug out. What's happening in Afghanistan is extremely painful here at home to those who served. The Veterans Administration has emailed millions of vets reminding them that you are not alone, and including a phone number we're going to show you at the bottom of the screen, as Iraq war veteran and mental health specialist Matthew Hoh alerts us to the warning signs of suicide.
The biggest warning sign for me personally is when you start preparing, when you start making the plan, when you start putting down, whether it be on paper or if it's just in your mind, how you're going to actually not just commit the suicide, taking your own life, but also preparation so that people have your passwords so they can get into your accounts. You know, your affairs are in order. How you're going to notify people, how you're going to let the police know that you did this, etc. When you start making a plan, that's when it is extremely serious.
Chastened by how Afghanistan ended, or are we? Let's ask how these wars begin. 2 years ago on this show, the only Senate Republican to vote against the Iraq war said it was already long past time to chair up the blank check.
I was in the Senate when, right after 9/11, we walked in to vote on giving George Bush the authority to respond. That's called the Authorization for the Use of Military Force, AUMF. And I have that paper with me here that I walked into the United States Senate 2 days after 9/11 to vote on giving that authorization. And I don't know if you can see on the camera here, but it says draft, draft, draft. There's a word crossed out. There's whereas, whereas, and then resolved to give the president authorization to respond. And it says the president is authorized to use all necessary appropriate force and against those nations, organizations, or persons he determines the planned, authorized, or committed on. It goes on giving him. It's not even a he or she. In this modern age, it's always gender equity. So this authorization, which is now used as a justification for all these conflicts in Syria and Yemen and all over the Middle East, was designed for President Bush. And we're using it, as you said, 18 years later. And that's what we need, is to have the Congress have a debate. What are we doing there? How are we going to win? Is it in our best interest as Americans? In 1973, after Vietnam, they passed the War Powers Act. It said we're never going to get into these quagmires again.
Former United States Senator and Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee, thank you for your vote.